talk about saving the best for near the end. Gentlemen, sirs, wow, Sunset Country. The only thing that could have been better is being on screen with you. And so thank you very, very much. Guys, welcome. Please take over. Kick me out. Have a good time.
What do you mean to kick you out? You certainly can stick around like everybody else.
Oh, no.
Hey, everyone. Welcome, I guess, to our session. I'm Gerry. I'm the Executive Director of Ontario Sunset Country Travel Association. I've worked certainly with the two colleagues here on screen with me, Jim Saric and Gord Pyzer. Gord, you've caught actually a huge muskie for us on one of our Midwest Outdoor shows, if you remember, about 15 years ago. At least it was a 30-plus pounder, certainly, so that was memorable. And Jim, you're a legend in the business, and then we've worked together as well. So I wanted to welcome everyone from Muskies Canada that's watching on behalf of the Travel Association. And just to give you some background on what we do, I guess I'm up first. Sunset Country has been around since 1974. We cover an area, you can see behind me, it's essentially the area from where the calendar starts and all the way to the Manitoba border. So let's say just west of Thunder Bay to the Manitoba border, around 70,000 freshwater lakes that are fishable. And several thousand of those probably, or several hundred anyway, would have muskellunge as a species in it. So what we do at the Travel Association is we are information providers. We help people find out more information about coming here. We have a number of items we can send you in the mail, or you can access some resources online. Start with our Sunset Country Guide. Hopefully everyone can see this. I'll try to get it in there. The Sunset Country Guide is an annual affair for us. We produce it, send lots to mostly people in the United States, but hopefully we can change that and get more people from Canada here. With COVID, it's reduced in size a little bit in 2021, but inside the guide, really a thing that people like is our Sunset Country travel map. This is a poster-sized map. You can see I can hold it here. That's saddle stitched into this travel guide, and it's available to anybody who may be interested in coming here free of charge. Just wanted to give you a quick overview of what that map looks like. It's quite large. I'm trying to hold it up here. Hopefully the camera can get it. That's the northern part of Sunset Country. So what we have here, as I try to stand and show you this, is it's a big area, as you can see, but most of the musky lakes are going to be in that area right there, the southern part. You'll see we start at the border. There's Rainy Lake. That's a musky lake in itself, and numerous there. Lake of the Woods on the, I guess, my left. I don't know if it's your right, but you can see that big body of water there. Also on here is a bunch of dotted locations of all the members of our travel association, including the ones that offer muskellunge fishing. So on the back, quickly, is an index showing you where they are, all their contact information. We have a few members out here. There's a lot of fishing lodges. So again, this is available online and as well as in the printed guide version. Wanted to move just to what we do online. There's the Sunset Country website. If I could share my screen, I'm not sure. I just hit share. Hopefully this will work. Let me see here. Okay. Can everyone see the Sunset Country page there? I'm not sure I'm doing this right. Is that working?
I don't think so, Gerry.
No, okay. Let me see.
Sunsetcountry.com, correct?
Yeah, visit sunsetcountry.com. I was just trying to show how people could actually find your entire screen. That's what I want to share. It says share audio. Doesn't appear to be working. The share thing is muted. Application window. Let's try that. No. Okay, let's try that. Is that working?
No, but I don't see it, Gerry.
How about that? Who do you see now? Just me again?
I just see you.
Okay, so let's stop that. I'm going to stop screen sharing.
Now I've got your screen. Your screen was there for a second.
Oh, it was. Okay. There was a delay.
Yeah.
So sorry to all the technical people out there. Let's see if that works. Your entire screen, share. Can you guys see my screen now with me on it?
Yeah, I see a bunch. Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And sorry for the technical delay. This is the main page of Sunset Country. It's our visit sunsetcountry.com is the website. You can do a number of things here, but a couple of things I wanted to point out first would be our accommodation finder. It's a tool you can use to limit your search to exactly what you're looking for. So if I go there, it's right here under lodging. How long it takes to respond. There it is. And when we do that, accommodation type, services, these are tools you can use. So let's try a Musky Lake here. I'm going to quickly scroll down. If you can see as I'm scrolling, there are a few lakes in Ontario Sunset Country. We're still on the C's, the D's. Let's go to Eagle. That's certainly a great body of water. Now, amenities Musky service, Musky fishing is where you could do that. And you'll notice what's happened here is all of the lodges on Eagle Lake that offer musky fishing that are members of our travel association. This isn't an all-inclusive list. They have to be a member. Are returned here. You have a profile or you can visit their website and you can filter this. You could add accommodation during, who's got an American plan fly-in. Well, there won't be any results there because it's a drive-in lake, but these are the types of things you can do. You can then modify your search. Next thing I wanted to show you would be just if you want to get straight to who's offering muskie. This is our fishing page. The link is right there, and you'll see that when we go down there, there's muskie fishing. Of course, we have multi-species fishing out here in Sunset Country with all our lakes. And if you click on there, everyone in our association, a little bit of information. Here's a nice lunge that offers muskie fishing is going to be returned in this list. So if we want to know where Moosehorn Lodge is, they're on Lac Seul. You just click see on map, and that's the location. Here's the west and east, west side of Lac Seul and east side of Lac Seul, and Moosehorn Lodge is right in there. Last but certainly not least is the place where you can order that guide I showed you. It's all over the website, and you just fill in your information. If you want a follow-up from a lodge, you could just click here and you'll go to the next page asking you for a bit more specific. Are you looking for drive-in? Are you looking for a muskie? What, are you looking for housekeeping, American plan, so on and so forth. So that's what we offer. We are here to help you. Our toll-free number, if you ever want to call Sunset Country, 1-800-665-7567. And again, the visit sunsetcountry.com is the website landing page. If you want to use an online guide, you can click here and you'll notice a copy of the 2021 guide comes up online. So you don't necessarily have to get it in the mail. Gives you an idea. Some of the things we have to. There's a happy camper. Let's get those kids into musky fishing. There's a beautiful fish. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hopefully go back to here. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll give it to the real experts, Gord and Jim. Thanks, everyone.
Well, thanks, Gerry. I think that's great. It's amazing all the stuff you do at Sunset Country. That, for those of you who haven't used that website or been to the brochure, using it online, it is an incredible resource to find waters. Gerry, I wonder if you like in your search tool, you ought to have like musky, big musky, even bigger musky, maybe, to do that and
right.
What people may want, and so it's a great tool. There's no question about it. Before we get rolling, and Gerry, don't fall asleep on me, Gerry, because I'm going to pull you back into this just to let you know. So as we start, chatting, and Gord, I'm not forgetting about you, but I think before we get going, I just want to thank Muskies Canada for letting all of us be part of this, and that this is an incredible 2-day event, and it has showcased, for many of you who've been involved in a lot of the different presentations, it has showcased a lot of great fisheries all throughout Canada, and really the commitment that Muskies Canada has to muskies, to research at such point, and then how much effort they're willing to put forward to get the species, to get more awareness of the species, and to bring in biologists, to make everybody aware of it. It's truly a great thing, and make people aware of all the fishing opportunities that are there. And so it's just been a phenomenal event, and I'm excited we're talking about Sunset Country. For those of you who are watching or listening, whatever you want to say you're doing, if you've got comments or questions, type them in, and Pierre's going to try to help get my attention to them for Gord and I and Gerry to take a look as we go through. But when it comes to Sunset Country, to me, this part of it is, for me, there's no question. As a U.S. muskie angler, it is our number 1 destination that's out there. And and I think it really comes to the fact there's so many muskie waters in Northwest Ontario, and that exist, and you have so many big fish that are shallow, so they're just so much more accessible than you have anywhere else. And so truly, if you want to come and you want to fish for numbers, you want to catch a big one, you want to fish a clear water lake, a stained water lake, a dark water lake, it's just amazing that's there. I mean, and so for the US, we're going there all the time. If you live in Ontario and you haven't been to this area of the province, or you haven't been to Lake of the Woods, number one, I'm like, what is wrong with you not going to Lake of the Woods? I mean, yeah, you really have to go to Lake of the Woods. I mean, come on, it's arguably the best muskie fishery anywhere in the world, because it's a place you can catch a 50-incher and catch 6 a day when they're biting. So I mean, there's not a lot of places you can have that happen. And the only thing I think about Sunset Country personally, I'm just like, how come there's not a Muskies Canada chapter out here? I mean, I really would think that with all the great fisheries that you've got here, it's perfect. In fact, I reached out to my friend Julian Kalka, who owns Annie Meyer's Lodge on Eagle, and he's actually centrally located up on Vermilion Bay. And I think that he could, I'm gonna throw him under the bus here. He could go and have his resort host the Muskies Canada meetings, in a good location. People from Dryden, Kenora, Prop Falls, they could all come up and be there. As U.S. anglers, we could join virtually and be part of it. I'm going to let Peter and everybody else from Muskies Canada figure out the logistics. But, I think it would be just a natural thing to be able to do. And, to be able to have that to kind of support this region. Because I think the more of these, organizations you have there, communicating with biologists, communicating with anglers, it just helps all the fisheries. So, I'm all for it, if they can get it done. Of course, I don't have to do the legwork. I'll certainly join, but it's always good to put the work on somebody else. So Gord, I'm going to start with you. You have a long history with the ministry. You've fished this region forever. I guess, for you, what's your favorite thing you like the most about, and I know you just love everything musky and you do everything else, but I know, over the years, you just continually get hooked, and your nephew's making it harder for you to not musky fish now, that everything. So like, what do you think really makes this area special for you, I guess, given, where you're at?
A really good question, Jim. If you're into country music, the Grand Ole Opry is the mother church of country music, the Rideman Auditorium. Yankee Stadium is Yankee Stadium. Maple Leaf Gardens, there's nowhere else in the world like Maple Leaf Gardens for hockey. The mother church of musky fishing, and you kind of alluded to it, it is Lake of the Woods. Pure and simple, it is the mother church of musky fishing. And the funny thing is, my grandson Liam and I, when we go out, and if we're out on a Sunday, he'll often say to me, "Grandpa, we're at church right now," and that's how we look at Lake of the Woods. It's 65,000 miles of shoreline, Jim. Now, I sometimes think Gerry put that together, the tourism guys trying to really add, that's 3 times around the Earth at the equator. That's how much shoreline is on Lake of the Woods. 14,000 islands. 14, and we're not talking little rock piles. When I talk about islands, we're talking about some of the islands are 8, 10, 15, 20,000 acres. And we're talking about huge islands, small islands. But I think the really, really interesting thing about the mother church of musky fishing is and you alluded to it, Jim, when I was with M&R here, we manage Lake of the Woods as 5 separate fisheries. So depending on what you're looking for, you find it. It's 5 different lakes. You should never, ever look at Lake of the Woods as just Lake of the Woods. It's 5 separate water bodies. And amazingly, the muskies don't swim between one and the other. They're genetically distinct. The walleyes are even genetically distinct. So 5 separate lakes. And then when you think that Lake of the Woods is the headwaters of the Winnipeg River system, and you can go all the way north to Monackey, and then you get into Big Sand, Little Sand, Rough Rock. So now you take in, if you like fishing rivers and you like fishing current, now you've got the entire Winnipeg River system. So as you alluded to, Jim, it has literally everything you could ask for. And it is the mother church of musky fishing. It is the Yankee Stadium, the Maple Leaf Gardens of the musky world.
Yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal fishery, and we'll touch more maybe on a little bit of strategy before we go. But one thing, Gerry, I guess I'm sure you get this question all the time. People want to come to Sunset Country, to this area to fish, and I've fished lots of different waters throughout there, and so. What do you tell somebody when they're looking to start? Other than, obviously you can tell people go musky fish on Lake of the Woods or on Eagle. I mean, how do you, when someone comes to you and they want to get started, what are some of the things some of the areas or lakes you're sending people to, or things that people ought to be aware of to know where they need to go?
Yeah, so I mean, it's such a vast region. The first thing we sort of try to do is narrow down. Are you looking for a specific body of water to fish, or do you just not know anything about what's available here on the musky side? So what we'll do then is respond to that person's request. So if they're looking at Lake of the Woods, we'll suggest a couple of things. We'll suggest first they get the information, and we'll give them the information of where to find things on our website, specifically related to that. What we have as a neat feature is you can actually go through our website, and it's called the bucket list feature. So if you go through and you spend half an hour or 45 minutes looking at a bunch of different lodges, but you've narrowed it down to 2 or 3, what you can do is add those 3 lodges to your bucket list. And what that's going to do is send an inquiry on your behalf specifically to those lodges, and you could type in anything you want, saying, hey, I was looking on the Sunset Country website and da-da-da-da. So that'll narrow it down, because there are, if you look at the whole region, not just Lake of the Woods, there's dozens of lodges that can get you on musky. The other thing I guess we'd say is to discover potentially other lakes just other than the church. You can go up to as far north as Red Lake. There's a beautiful, incredible musky fishery called Long-Legged Lake up there. I'm not sure. There's Medicine, Upper Medicine Store.
There's all
kinds of small lakes. Up the 105, you're into the Cedar Lake chain. You've got even some of the trout lakes up there. I think Cliff has musky. There's a number of opportunities to go at it. Canyon Lake would be another one where you've got great numbers. Maybe the average size isn't going to be as large as you're going to see on Lake of the Woods, but you're going to get a lot of fish there. So we try to be as comprehensive in our response and give them these tools and let them go from there. Our job is sort of the middleman in the equation, where we get them to the lodges, and they then the customer deals with that lodge on a sort of one-to-one basis. And it's been a good relationship we've had with our lodges and our consumers, and I think it's appreciated by both sides how it works. So.
Yeah, I think a big thing about fishing on all these waters is that you got to think to yourself. I mean, I get asked all the time, where should I go? Should I go to Eagle? Should I go to Lake of the Woods? Should I go to Cedar, or maybe the Indian chain? And it all depends on your objective. What do you want to do? If your goal is, hey, you want to catch a 50-incher or a 54-incher, you're looking for a giant fish. And that starts limiting some of the lakes, right? I mean, it might be an Eagle or a Lake of the Woods, or it could be a Loch Sewell. You start thinking about some of those. But if you want numbers, there's lots of bodies of water where you can go catch it, have action, and catch your first muskie, or go catch a bunch of muskies, from that. And so I think you got to think about your objective. And then the other thing, and I'm sure Gord, you would agree, a lot of it's timing, right? What time of year are you going? I mean, for example, we teach a muskie school on Lake of the Woods the 3rd week of July every year in the Northwest Angle at Sandy's Black Hawk Island Camp. And we teach it that week because historically the third week of July is one of the first stable warm weather months. I'm always in shorts that week, and the fish are done spawning, everything's ramping up, the fish are shallow, so it's all good with that. Whereas maybe if you were fishing a deep, clear lake that third week of July, let's say maybe a clear section of the west arm of Eagle, you might have to wait a week or two till it gets better, Gord. So, timing is a big thing, right, Gord? That you think about?
It really is, Jim, and that was it's a great lead into. Remember, I mentioned we actually manage Lake of the Woods as 5 separate water bodies. So if folks go not Clearwater Bay, but the Clearwater sections like Whitefish,
yeah, you
go to Whitefish Bay. As you're talking about here, it's super, super clear. It's noted for lake trout, whitefish, and the muskies behave a little bit differently, and it's a little bit later in the season. So you're absolutely right. Now, I know you do the muskie school down in the south end, and the really cool thing about the south end, sectors 5 and 6 of Lake of the Woods, 30 feet of water is deep water.
Yeah.
Shoot, where I'm fishing 65, 70, 80, 100, 110. So you're absolutely right. That's the nice part for guys like me that live up here. We run, it's nothing for us to run in the boat 60 miles a day, 70 miles. So I'll go down lake 35, 40 miles in maybe early July to get down to where you guys are in a little bit later. And then as the water starts to warm up, we'll drift and gravitate over towards Whitefish Bay. So, and that's what really is neat about what Gerry does. If folks do say, I'll be honest with you, I like fishing clear water. I love clear water, kind of lake trout muskies. And so if that's what I like to do, and I like finding weed beds, and you can't find weed beds in the north half of Lake of the Woods because of rusty crayfish. So if that's what I really like to do, I can contact Gerry, say, this is kind of my style. I'm looking for those clear water areas. And then he puts me right in contact with the folks, maybe down around Donna Hansen's place or King Island Resort or some of the resorts in and around Sioux Narrows. And it totally fits that style of fishing. And that's what is so unique about Lake of the Woods. You can time it. You can work with Gerry once the season opens, always the third weekend of June. There's always somewhere that's going pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so true. There's always when you get into the summer thing, there's so much. So, let's talk a little bit about technique. Time is like flying. It's just kind of crazy here as we keep going through this thing, trying to get through. When you're going to fish a big lake, let's say it's a Lake of the Woods or it could be an Eagle or it could be Cedar, a lot of them or Loch Sewell. A big thing is like, how do you get started? And I think if you reach out to any of the lodges like Gerry would have you do, and you can talk to them, and the lodge owners are going to help you with what's going on. They're going to help you with some of the timing, when may be the best time to go. They're all going to tell you the best time is every single day to come, which I'm telling you isn't real. As a US guy, it's not really the truth. There's good fishing and then there's better fishing. Every year, every lake has a few weeks or section when it's better than others. So you can look at photos, you can look at catches historically to find out when it's good. But when you get there, I always think about, there's a couple things, I tell people to kind of figure out, what to do. And number one is try to break any of these lakes down into smaller, more manageable sections that are kind of, whatever you're comfortable with. If you're, depending on where you fish, whether you fish in the States or you fish in other parts of Ontario, you may get a marked map from your buddy that says, hey, I'm going to go fish all these spots. And they're miles apart from one another. And all you end up doing is burning a lot of gas, going by a lot of other good looking spots. So, I tell people to kind of break the lake, any of these lakes, these Canadian lakes, into smaller sections. I fish a lot of the islands. I know Lake of the Woods has 14,000 of them. I can't fish 14,000 of them, but I can start by picking 10 of them close by the resort. Those that are maybe near relatively deeper water. And I also fish a lot of the channel markers, the red and the green, red one, a green one, a black and yellow one. Just make sure you drive on the right side, the correct side of it. and you go slow around it. But every one of those markers usually marks a potential musky spot. It could be weeds, it could be rocks, it could be sand. So, I think if you, start, breaking down the islands, and to me, as a geologist, I also know that the southeast end of every island tends to have more soft bottom, and it tends to have weed beds. It tends to have more broken rock or shallow transition from sand to gravel to rock, maybe in points or extensions, where the north end is typically steeper. So you start fishing these islands to figure out where are these fish located, or fish a great big gigantic island that maybe has a bay in it. And you start at the point of one, at the mouth of the bay, fish the point, work your way into the back of the bay, and then work your way back out to the next point and figure out, are the fish in the bays? Are they in that transition from the points to the bays or the points? So I start doing that to try to dial in what they're doing. Gord or Gerry, I know you musky fish too, but either one of you want to add, like, what advice as far as when it comes to how do you fish these big lakes? Because I can tell you, for lots of people, some of these lakes are bigger, particularly in the States. Some of these bays or some of these smaller sections are bigger than many of the waters we have in the U.S.
Jim, there's more water in Lake of the Woods than most states have in all of their lakes combined. So you're absolutely right. Pick a portion and then learn that portion really well. The other thing I always emphasize to folks, and I know the excitement. I grew up in Southern Ontario. I remember when I came up with M&R, I was transferred. I got the job up here in 1976, and I drove into Kenora. And obviously the musky fishing was part of the attraction that brought me north. And I was as excited as anybody else. I grew up in Southern Ontario fishing the Kawartha Lakes, the lake I grew up on. I, in 14 days, had a 44 fish total in 14 days. I'll be honest with you. The first year I came to Lake of the Woods, and I thought, I was about 24, 26 years old. I arrive in Lake of the Woods. I'd caught hundreds of fish in Southern Ontario. I blanked out my first year here. I went looking for, where are the weed beds? There's no weed at the top end of the lake. And the few that exist aren't here anymore. The rusties have eaten them out. So one of the things I discovered, Jim, is if it looks good, yes, it can have fish in it. I was always amazed, and I've talked about this many times. So when folks register at, say, the Lakeside Inn, which is the big hotel here in Kenora, it's an old Holiday Inn, circular Holiday Inn, built right on the lake. So it's actually in the lake. It's on concrete pad and steel pillars, but it's built out on the lake. And as soon as everyone registers and they've got everything in the room before they have dinner, they rush down to the docks and they start casting. Now, it's possible you will catch a fish. I mean, it's possible to catch a muskie anywhere casting off the dock, but the reality for first comers, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
And so think about it. Just because you're coming to the Mother Church of musky fishing, don't leave behind everything you have learned. Bring that knowledge with you. Lake of the Woods actually, in some respects, fishes very, very small. And for folks that don't know what that means is, I'm not looking for those huge, huge areas. We're sometimes looking for single rocks. But most good musky anglers know that. They know what they're looking for. So just because you've come to the Mother Church of musky fishing, don't leave that good knowledge you have behind from your favorite lakes, transfer it here, and then fish where you would fish at home with the same baits, and all of a sudden it starts to fit into the puzzle.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, we've got a couple questions here from some of the viewers, and Gord and Gerry, you may know better than I have. Are there any people are asking about tiger muskies? The hybrids between the northerns and the muskies. Are there any particular lakes in Sunset Country that either Gord or Gerry that you can think of where more tigers get caught?
There are parts of Lake of the Woods where there are more tigers, absolutely, and there are other lakes. We actually have some lakes. I'll be honest with you. A few are pretty small, so I'm not going to name them. just because we don't want to add that. But here's one of the keys. Look for lakes that are better suited or better known to be pike waters, but also have muskies in them. And those are we have a couple favorite. We actually have one favorite lake that's about 900 acres in size. Far more common to catch a pike in it. But when we go musky fishing and we actually increase the size of our baits, so we kind of scare away the pike, if you will, we can almost average tiger every trip.
Mm-hmm. Gerry, any input on that?
Yeah, I know. I mean, so one of the lakes I fish, I like in the fall to fish trout lakes, and largely this lake I've fallen in love with largely because of the scenery. I think it's large enough where I could mention it. Dryberry Lake, it's called.
Yeah.
What I found in there is you're going to get a tiger muskie probably every 10 fish you'll catch, at least one has been a tiger muskie for us. Now the average size has been smaller, but we have got one, I think almost 40 inches. Beautiful colored fish. They're a little paler than the Dryberry. It's a trout lake, so it's crystal clear. And in the fall, we go late October into November, and we troll, because at -3, -4, trying to cast bucktails and silks or whatever you're trying to cast really doesn't work out well. So what we do is troll quite fast, pretty close to the shoreline, and we've pulled a number of them out, especially in the month of November. And that would be the only thing I know about musky fishing. There are pike in there. There's no walleye in Dryberry, for example. So to Gord's comment about, we have caught some big pike in Dryberry as well. It's a bass lake, pike, trout, and musky. That's where we've seen the hybrid species show up. I haven't caught one on Lake of the Woods.
Yeah, gotcha. I did catch one. I caught one on film. I caught a 45-incher on Lake of the Woods in the Northwest Angle. I was filming with Billy Sandy and about 3 years ago, and I ended up hooking one that was a big one like that. And of course, Bill thought it was a pike, so he's like not even thinking about netting it. He's like, you got a pike, and then until I started screaming musky, then all of a sudden he got alerted to it, and he actually was going to help me out. Otherwise, he was just going to let me struggle and have to unhook it myself, from there. So one question I see here, someone asked about kind of about lures and techniques on Lake of the Woods, and people are like, hey, you're still catching a lot of muskies on the double tens, and on a figure 8. And I think that goes for, and I'm going to say it's not just on Lake of the Woods, but on lots of waters throughout Ontario. I would say, number one, I still catch lots of muskies on a figure 8. And I love catching them away from the boat more, don't get me wrong, but it is kind of cool to catch them on a figure 8. And I tell people you can catch way more than you think on a figure 8. I still catch them on the musky, the double tens, or the last couple of years, I've been using a lot of these Musky Frenzy stagger blades that maybe have a 10 and a 9 blade, or a 9 and an 8 for some slightly different vibration from there. But I still think with a lot of the shallow cover, fishing an inline spinner, fishing a bucktail, and then really, paying attention to your figure 8 is really going to matter. And, and I could go on for an hour about how to really catch them on a figure 8. From there, but I can tell you that it's important that when you see a fish to maybe accelerate the bait to keep the fish moving. It's important to make big turns. It's important to maybe hesitate the bait on an outside turn and have your partner communicate with you on what the fish is doing when he's following. Because a lot of times, even with great sunglasses on, your partner with it from a different angle, whether it be sitting next to you or in the back of the boat, can really see what's going on. It can tell you to speed up, slow down. Hey, he's got it, things like that. And so it really does matter. So if there's one thing I tell people when you're going to anywhere in Ontario, but particularly if you're going to Lake of the Woods, or it's happened to me on Cedar or on Eagle, or I don't know, just about everywhere I've been to Lake of the Woods, been to Northwest Ontario, that you have to figure 8 and you will catch fish. And on the toughest days that you're fishing, that one bite you catch will probably be on a figure 8. Gord, anything else you want to add to that?
The only thing I would add, Jim, when I came in 76, I would say we caught 75 to 80% of our fish on the cast. So 20 to 25% on a figure 8, probably reversed today. I saw one of the questions about stocking.
Yeah.
Is there any stock? And it relates to this question. These are wild fish. So, Jim, what you and I are normally, and Gerry are fishing for, we pull our baits away from 46, 48 inches. I have no problem. Anybody catches those, by all means, if that's sure. But that's not what we're interested in. So we're out trophy fishing. We're looking for 52s, 54s. We're looking for big fish. Every big fish in Lake of the Woods, I will tell you right now, likely has been caught before. It's been caught before. It's been handled before. It's been photographed. It's unlikely that that fish it's heard the boat. So look behind your baits. Be prepared to figure eight. Know how to figure eight. I always have folks do it in the boat. And then as soon as one of those big fish pulls in behind their boat, their knees tremble and they forget about everything that they've ever thought about. And they tend to make it easy for the fish. They stop. They let the bait flutter. Nothing worse than that, doing that. You want to do everything possible to take the bait away and make it harder for the fish to bite. In a sense, at least in your mind, think that. So you better practice figure eighting and anticipate that every fish you're going to catch is on the figure eight. For sure, you're going to catch them on a cast. But if you now have the mindset that I'm going to have to figure eight these fish, you're going to even do better when you're casting. You're not going to pull a big pounder up. You're not just going to reel it in quick and then make a cast. You're going to let it fall. You're going to bring it up. You're going to make a directional change at the side of the boat. You're going to be looking behind on every cast. And when you do that, the results follow themselves.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I think that as a musky angler, if there's one thing you can work on throughout the year is getting better at figure eighting. And I think the one thing I've seen over my musky fishing career is that I just wish I knew as much about how to catch them on a figure eight now, back then as I do now, because I used to have fish follow that would come in slow and lethargic, and maybe I would fish figure eight fast, and now I do it slower. And I've got different techniques that I utilize, whether it be with a minnow bait or a bucktail, and I catch a lot more of them. And I think back in time about how many fish that I said I would never catch that one, and now I catch them. Don't catch them all. I don't want anybody thinking you catch them all. There are days where I've had 30 or 40 follows and only got one or two of them to bite, but I kind of look at it like that sports analogy. If you some fish come in and they're swimming fast, and if you don't execute your figure eight properly, you don't catch them. It's like throwing an interception. It truly is. But on the flip side, the touchdown passes are when you catch them, and you can catch a lot more of these fish at boat side by making big turns, manipulating the bait, and kind of paying attention. If the fish moves slow, move a little bit. You don't have to move crazy fast, but move a little bit faster, and you can actually change their attitude during a figure eight or as they're going on, and kind of react to them, and it will result in way more fish. And like I said, on those days where maybe you haven't seen a fish in 3-4 hours, I'm telling you that those are the days where you better be ready, because that's probably when you're going to catch them. And it's going to be just be cooked on the back hook, barely hooked. That's what's coming for you that day. And so you just have to know it and accept it and be ready for it. Because at the end of the day, if you catch one and no one else, it's just great. One is better than none. And you just have to kind of be ready for that situation.
And when you're going to see it, Jim, you're going to launch the boat before the sun rises. You're going to pull the boat out when it's dark outside. And the one time you don't look behind your bait is when you got to follow.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Gerry, anything else you want to add to that?
What you guys have said sort of plays to something I tell people all the time. Here it's an experience. It's a really catching the fish is part of it, and it's to your 40 follows and only 1 or 2 fish. But just being out on the lakes here, just the remoteness, the shorelines, the lack of people compared to, say, a densely populated area of Ontario, like Southern Ontario is. It creates an overall experience where, I don't have the skill you two have, but so I go often. I've done 3 in a row with no fish. We've seen a few fish, but I've done 3 trips to to, you know, go fishing and nothing. And then the following trip, we get 4. So you have to balance that sort of, you know, feast and famine thing. Again, part of it relates to my probably my lack of skill relative to you two, but it's really an experience. So once you come here, you're going to, even if you didn't catch anything or you only had a couple of follows that day, you're going to leave with a, man, what a place, I guess is kind of the thing. And that's the experience that Sunset Country will, you know, you'll go back. Just wow, you just won't believe the wilderness here, the wildness of these fish. It's really truly something else.
Yeah, I Gerry, you said that's just outstanding because it's so true. I mean, you know, fishing all across the U.S. and all throughout Ontario for muskies, and you know, I go to a place, whether it be a, you know, a Lake of the Woods or an Eagle or Loch Sewell or you know, or Cedar, the Litmanaki that goes on. Every time I'm fishing there, and you know, I start the morning, you know, and you look out, you know, you get in the boat and you're going out and you look at the scenery and you're like, wow, I get to do this today. How great is it? It's just amazing. And you know, as the flip side, there's lots of lakes I fish in the States, and I'm like, hey, I'm putting in some metropolitan area. Okay, there's a Starbucks next to the boat ramp, and you know, it's a whole different experience. And and there's people jet skiing and skiing by me, and you know, and I got to get off the water by 9:30 in the morning, or I might get run over. You know, I don't have to deal with any of that. And then of course there's giant fish, so it's just really amazing, you know, from there. So.
Jim, if I could just play, it is an area. It's so wild out here, and I think Gord, you'd agree. Be prepared. So you want to be prepared on a boat. It's not where you're going to see a lot of other people.
Yeah.
So especially if you do something like we do in November and we go trolling on these trout lakes, you want to certainly I'll let my wife know where I'm going. But you know, if we're not back by this time, we either conked out, and because we're not going to see anyone out on the lake likely in the middle of November. We've gone November 20th. It was -7. So you want to be prepared. The size of the lakes, just let people know the general area you'll be fishing, I think, is part of what you want to do. So if you do break down, your lodge is going to come out and come and get you that day. You know?
Yeah.
It's a good feeling because you can get in trouble in the woods out there.
Real quick, that's a great point, Gerry, because I will say at least 5 times a year, and now I don't think these are musky anglers, but at least 5 times a year, sometimes more, we'll be down towards the Olno Peninsula, or even south of the Olno, and have a boat pull up against us, wave us down, and someone will come over and say, are we headed in the right direction to Kenora? And I'll say, do you have a map? Do you have a map chip? And they'll go, you know, honest truth, I've had people pull the placemat from the lakeside inn that you have your breakfast on that has a map.
We don't advise that to people.
Yeah.
Do not navigate Lake of the Woods with the placemat from the Lake of the Woods. There's 14,000 islands above the water, and there are 48,000 that far under the surface.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, we only have 2 minutes left, and which is amazing. And you know, I want to thank Muskies Canada for having all of us on here. Gerry, thanks for coming out and sharing, you know, all your expertise with Sunset Country. And again, people should either go online and check out the brochure or get a hard copy of it. And you know, hey, if you live in Eastern Ontario, you could fly to Winnipeg, and I'm sure there's resorts that will pick you up in Winnipeg and get you to your lake. So, you know,
come to Kenora, you can fly right to Kenora from Toronto.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all doable from there. And I'm serious about that Muskies Canada chapter. Somebody needs to get that started from there. So I will quit talking and let, you know, Gerry or Gord, any final thoughts, you know, before we're done.
And here I come.
Oh, Ryan, did you say something?
There's Ryan.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
How did it go?
Good. I think we're still live, actually.
Yeah.
We were just on our final thoughts. I would that. We're here for help. So, you know, one thing, people from Southern Ontario, given it's 20 hours, maybe make it a 2-week trip and hit 2 spots and then go back. You know, because I know a lot of people want their boat, they want their own equipment. Flying may not be obviously an option. So if you're going to drive around 20 hours from Toronto to Kenora, a little less. That would be the thing is maybe make it a 2-week trip and hit 2 spots. double the pleasure.
Gerry, that's a really good point. You could stop one first night on Nipissing, the next night over towards Wabigoon, Lac Seul, the Indian Chain, Perot, maybe come to Lake of the Woods the next day. And you could put a I mean, that talk about world class. And every one of those is out of your own boat. That's would absolutely be amazing.
I'm in on that trip. Count me in on that.
I will drive the bus. I am telling you right now, I will take care of that. You know, one of my favorite clips in the last few months is when Mr. Saric and Mr. Pyzer were on with, I believe it was Scotty. And Scotty, I can see you in the background. You can give me a wave if I'm right. Excellent. You were on with Scotty, and you guys, we got your permission to use a clip, and it made me so happy. You said, if you're not a member of Muskies Canada, you're making a mistake. And I am so appreciative that you guys explained to all the viewers that, you know, Muskies Canada voice is a cumulative voice. We are Muskies Canada at work. They're not going to listen to Ryan Pickering, but they will listen to Muskies Canada. And so because of guys like you, pioneers, people who have been in the trenches and kicking butt for so long, we have the ability to talk with Gerry about how amazing Ontario is. And that drive sounds like a bucket list trip. So I think I have to do the tough job of hooking you guys off the screen, which personally breaks my heart. I would sit here for 6 hours until you guys fell asleep or pretended you were frozen and waited for me to hang up on you. So guys, gentlemen, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys very, very much.
Thanks very much. See you, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Be good, Jim. Be good, Gerry.
Have a great season, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Pyzer. Thank you, Mr. Saric. Wow.